Warning: this video may contain graphic content such as sexual scenes, violence, gore, boobies, and the rest of the fun stuff. Unfortunately, YouTube won't allow that, so we'll try what we can. Please be over 18 to view this video, and don't say we didn't warn you.
Endlessly searching for an original sin.
Hey guys, welcome back to Sinfully Fun Games. I've made it very known that you guys can send me games, and Red15 has sent me a pack of horror mature games. So let's check these out. And remember, you can always email me games that you want to see me play. And I may not do a full Let's Play right away, but I probably will eventually get to them. I only have so many videos I can put up in a day. If you guys haven't checked it out, Spirit Hunter's Deathmark is the big horror game right now, and I'm enjoying it. So, let's start. The first one for today is I Walk Among Zombies. From close by came the sound of dripping water. The body on the ground was cold, the same temperature as the asphalt below. The body was stiff, its muscles like hard rubber. It pushed its hands against the ground, joints creaking as it struggled to sit up. Vague figures shambled around in front of it. It appeared to have been sleeping on the sidewalk. Why was it in a place like this? It didn't remember. It painstakingly tried to stand. Its movements were stiff, like a rusty machine. Its vision was strangely blurry. It was hungry. The hunger was almost unbearable. As though it hadn't eaten for days, it lurched forward looking for food. Then it found the sound. Again, the sound of water, incredibly close by. It lowered its eyes and saw a pool of blood forming at its feet. Panicked, it attempted to jump back, but its legs didn't respond. Instead, against its will, its arms moved. They rose into view, stained in crimson. The man jumped from his bed, sending the sheets flying. Ugh. The feeling of a sharp headache. He lifted a hand to his head. The feeling faded away immediately. The curtains were shut, leaving the room dark. He noticed that he could still hear the sound of dripping water from his dream. He turned his head back over to the kitchen. Water dripped from the kitchen tap. After staring at it silently for a moment, he let out a huge sigh. What the hell was that? It had been a strange dream. Standing up, he walked towards the kitchen. He poured a cup of barley tea from the fridge and gulped it down. The cold liquid reinvigorated his dehydrated body. This finally roused him from his groggy state. As he went to put the barley tea back. Oh, his arms cramped up in pain. The sleeve of his shirt was torn. Beneath the torn sleeve was a savage bite mark, as though he had been attacked by a dog. He rolled up his blood-encrusted sleeve to take a good look at the wound underneath. When he saw it, the events of the past few days flashed through his mind. A world full of zombies, 10th day. Yusuke Takemoto, a 25-year-old former office worker, lost his job when the company he worked for went bankrupt, and his search for a new one hadn't gone smoothly. For a little while, he'd been holed up in his apartment doing nothing but playing games. Action games, the kind where you gun down hordes of enemies. He'd played for a week straight, like some sort of vegetable. The only time he'd taken a break was to quickly shave and go out to buy food. Midway through the trip, a man he didn't recognize had suddenly attacked him. A middle-aged John Doe in a suit. Drool dripping from his mouth, His face distorted, he lunged at Yusuke. Trying to protect himself, Yusuke instinctively kicked the man. The man staggered back, but only for an instant. Soon he was back on his feet, sights still set on Yusuke. It's Yusuke. I know it's Yusuke. I keep doing that. Yusuke. You know what? Nope, it's Yusuke now. Threw a nearby potted plant at the man and escaped back to his room. It all happened in a flash. The man chased after him and started pounding on the door. Panicking, Yusuke phoned the police, but there was no answer. I have no idea what just happened there. After a while, he started to feel ill, his legs barely supporting him. Mustering the last of his strength, he threw the deadbolt on the door and lurched to his bed and collapsed on it. That was where his memories cut off. Checking his phone, he realized he had been passed out for 3 days straight. As his memories of the attack came back, he ran to check the front door, but there was no sign of his assailant. Who the hell was that guy? It seemed that he was safe for the time being, but nevertheless, he was hesitant to go outside. He sat down at his desk and booted up his PC, then began searching the net for any information regarding the incident. At first, he tried to determine if a strange man had been arrested, but he soon realized the world was too busy to deal with just one freak. This can't be real. Mysterious disease had broken out in every corner of the world simultaneously. Wuhan flu. Fatality rate 100%. A high fever led to brain damage, and the infected lived at most another day. So sometime after succumbing, the corpse would come back to life and indiscriminately attack others. Any who were bitten would become infected and substantially die. After that, they would join the ranks of the aggressors. Zombies? No way, he muttered, reeling. He clicked through various news sites, but half of them were offline. Even the ones that were still up hadn't been updated in the past 4 days. He found a real-time news feed, but the stories there was equally hopeless. Central governments had ceased functioning, and the army was still continuing local rescue attempts, though that was also going poorly. Roads were congested with abandoned vehicles, and refugees had been left behind all over the place. It was like the world had just gone through the apocalypse. He sat staring at his computer monitor in his dark, silent room. He just couldn't comprehend what was going on. Oh, the TV. Turning on the TV, he flicked through the channels, looking for the news, but he was only met with static. Yusuke stood up and walked towards the balcony window. He opened the curtains and peered outside, squinting at the dazzling light. The view from his apartment, on the 5th floor, was the same as usual, but the building and high-rises fell into the distance. He opened the sliding glass door and stepped out onto the balcony. As he looked around, he noticed something on the ground below him. Abandoned cars streamed all over the streets below. Some were stranded on the sidewalks, and others were even rammed into the storefronts. He could also see figures of people nearby. However, they looked unsettling and aimless, as if they were mindlessly wandering around. Yusuke honestly couldn't tell whether they were infected or not from where he was standing. Something's fucked up here, he muttered as he returned to his room and sat down on the chair. It was clear that something, at least, had happened. The infected had started around the time Yusuke had been consumed by the game. In only 2 or 3 days, it had swept over the entirety of Japan. Then, was that guy a zombie? Does that mean... Remembering what happened to him, Yusuke froze. He quickly rolled up his sleeve to check where he'd been attacked. There was the assailant's bite mark. It had gone right through his shirt into his flesh. The bleeding had stopped, and the wound had already scabbed over. You're shitting me. Yusuke impatiently searched the internet for some kind of treatment. However, no matter where he looked, it said that if you're bitten, you're dead. End of story. Maybe there's an incubation period, but everything just said you're going to die after 1 day. Now that I think about it, I did have a high fever. The shakes he had gotten after being bitten did seem like a sign of infection. However, Yusuke was still alive. Maybe that guy wasn't a zombie, just a regular nut job, and some weird bacteria got into my wound or something. What the hell's going on? Just to be sure, he looked up the phone numbers of some nearby hospitals on the internet. I think I have it too, guys. I'm going to die. No, so is Nico. Not a single one answered his calls. The police and fire department were the same. He still couldn't come to grips with what had happened. Society as a whole had come to a halt. In any case, sitting there would accomplish nothing. Yusuke went all around the apartments on his floor, checking if anyone was home. He thought that if he could find another resident, he might be able to get more information. The internet alone was unreliable. However, he didn't find anyone. Each apartment he checked was locked shut. It seemed as though the majority of people had evacuated. However, the apartment 3 doors down was unlocked. Anyone home? He called out again, but there was no reply. The apartment was dark. In an entranceway, there were 2 pairs of women's shoes neatly arranged. Seeing those, he recalled the apartment's residence. It was Miss Kudos, the young secretary. Kudos wore glasses, kept her hair in a loose braid, and always seemed somewhat gloomy. He had never spoken to her much. They'd only ever exchanged empty pleasantries. After hesitating for a moment, he closed the door behind him, took off his shoes, and stepped through the entrance. "Excuse me!" He flipped the switch next to him and turned the lights on, which only confirmed that there was nobody home. Though he felt guilty for intruding, it didn't stop him from heading further inside. The floor plan was the same as Yusuke's apartment, a 1-bedroom with a combined dining and kitchen area. The table was tidy, and in the kitchen everything, from the seasonings to the utensils, was neatly lined up, which left one other room. He slid open the door and peered into the room. Is there seriously no one here? Just in case, he decided to search the room. The pink curtains were drawn, leaving the room in darkness. A laptop's up on the bedside table. Other than that, there was only a closet and a dressing table. It was a simple room. A plush cat toy rested on a nearby pillow, giving the room a girlish impression. Yusuke felt a little guilty for intruding into another person's bedroom. But then he heard the faint noises behind him. He turned around in confusion to see the black-haired woman standing by the sliding door. It was the secretary the room belonged to, Kudos. Since she wasn't wearing her usual glasses, it took him a moment to recognize her. She was dressed in plain outfits, a simple sweater and jeans in combo. "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get a reply, so..." He spoke, and he noticed something seemed a bit off about Kuroso. She was looking in his general direction, but her eyes weren't focused, and she seemed slightly unsteady. Kuroso slowly turned and shuffled toward the entranceway. Yusuke foes remained frozen for a little while, but then chased after her. He found her facing the front door, her head tilted. "Kuroso-san?" Scratch, scratch. Slowly, as though she was stroking the door, Kuroso's fingernails scraped along the wood near the latch. "What are you doing?" He peered at her, but she made no reply. As he continued to observe her, he couldn't help but wonder if maybe Her hair was a little mussed, but she was still beautiful. Glasses usually changed how someone looks, but the transformation in Kuroso was astonishing. She now left an entirely different impression on Yusuke. He still thought she was a little gloomy, but now she had a sexy librarian thing going on. As she continued to stare blankly at the door, Yusuke noticed that her face was not something he'd call a healthy color, nor were her bloodshot eyes. The paint on the door was peeling away where she had been scratching at it, and in return her fingernails were ruined. It was likely that she had scratched away at the door many times before Yusuke had come here. Even her fingertips looked worn down. "Kuroso-san?" As he spoke, he timidly took her by her shoulder. She felt soft, even though her sweater, a woman's softness. He couldn't gauge her body temperature with her clothes in the way, however. Kuroso was still not responding to him, so he put his hand on her forehead. "You gotta be kidding." She was cold. Not cold like she had been out in the snow or something, but cold like a mannequin. Still unable to believe what was happening, Yusuke timidly put his fingers into the nape of Kuroso's neck. Kuroso didn't care, continuing to scratch at the door. He found her carotid artery lightly pressed against it and waited quietly. However, no matter how long he waited, he would not feel her pulse. This can't be real. Seeking confirmation, he held his hand in front of her mouth, but he felt no breath. Feeling a little guilty, he moved his hand down her chest, but he felt no heartbeat. Zombies always looked grotesque in the movies, so he still couldn't quite grasp what was going on. Other than her pale complexion, she looked exactly like a normal human being. It took Yusuke a minute to accept the fact that she was still moving around, despite her lack of a pulse or respiration. So what could happen next, guys? Well, that's up to you. Do you want to see more of this game? Let me know in that comment section, no matter where you see this. Alright guys, it's time for the next game. The next game for this Sinfully fun game is called Killer Queen. This was a familiar scene, her face, her voice, all of it. It was the same discussion they both had every year. This was one of many conversations they had with each other on the way home from school. Anything's fine, I don't care.
もうはっきりしなさいよね、はっきり。
Her tone made it clear that she didn't like that answer.
いつも言ってるでしょ。あんたはね、もうちょっと自分の気持ちを表に出しなさい。そんなことじゃ誰もあんたのことを分かってくれないわよ。
I can live with that as long as you understand me. That's all that matters. So Uchi's nonchalant answers made her blush.
バカじゃないの？
Despite her retort, she didn't look unhappy or irritated by his response. Her tone then softened.
私はね、あんたのことを勘違いされたくないの。
Why?
私の幼なじみは。
She paused for a moment before continuing.
私の恋人はいい男なんだって自慢したいんだから。
Alright. Soichi gave a reassuring nod to show that he understood. Well, as for what I want for my birthday, something to eat would be nice. Something exotic that I haven't tried before.
食べ物？もっと形の残るものじゃなくて？記念日なんだよ。
She obviously wasn't satisfied with his answer. But since you'll be eating with me, I'll have everything I'd ever want. A smile came across her face as she gave him a nod. But soon, Soichi would come to regret this birthday wish. He'd wish that he had taken her advice and asked for a keepsake of sorts.
じゃあ、私買いに行ってくるから、 ここでね。
Sounds good. She turned to go, but stopped in her tracks and looked back at Soichi with a bright smile. Soichi looked back at her, too, and nodded.
また明日ね、総一。
That smile was truly radiant. Yeah, later.
じゃ。
She waved goodbye one last time before walking away. As Soichi headed home, he could still visualize her beautiful smile. He would never dream that he might never see or speak to her again. But daydreams of the following day accompanying his mind. Occupying. He didn't even register the ambulance racing past a little while later. Even though he knew halfway through that he wasn't dreaming, didn't mean that the whole thing wasn't heart-wrenching to him. Soichi wiped away some tears forming in the corners of his eyes. Throb. In that instant, the pain shot through his head that took his mind off the dream and all the emotions associated with it. The throbbing that now plagued his skull clearly wasn't natural. It immediately brought him back to his senses. He slowly opened his eyes to find he was gazing at an unfamiliar ceiling. A stiff sensation was nagging at his back, so he knew he wasn't in his comfortable bed at home. What's going on? Startled, Soichi ignored the ache in his back and the unfamiliar ceiling for a second and sat up. A quick survey of the room instantly confirmed his suspicions. He had never been in this room before. More specifically, it was a Western-style room, the wall complete with a small wooden desk. Soichi had been laying on its floor. Everything was covered in a thick layer of dust, making it clear the room hadn't been occupied in a while. Seeing this, Soichi proceeded to brush the dust off when another headache assaulted him. It wasn't as bad as the first one, but it was strong enough to make Soichi grit his teeth and shake his head a few times. Though he had no way of knowing this, his headaches were caused by a drug he had been forced to take that had knocked him unconscious. He had been brought to this room while under its effects. Where am I? Soichi strained to recall his memories prior to waking up here. What's the last thing I remember? He was by himself on his way home after school, making his way to a nearby train station. He boarded the train, got off at his usual stop, then started walking home. He'd walked. And that was that. He couldn't recall anything afterwards. He didn't remember feeling anything off at that time, or anyone else's presence either. His memories were fuzzy around that point. The next thing he could remember was waking up in this room. I don't get it. What the hell happened? Soichi frantically patted himself down. He wasn't injured, and nothing seemed amiss. His clothes were the same, and he even had his wallet along with his cell phone. It seemed that at the very least, he could rule out the possibility that he had been mugged. Since he could remember that he'd been wearing, he clearly didn't have amnesia either. So that means someone must have brought me here against my will. Then then I've been kidnapped? But why would anyone want to kidnap me of all people? Granted, if this was in fact a legit kidnapping, something was still off. He wasn't bound or gagged like a normal kidnapper would do to him. Wait, I've still got my cell phone. Soichi hastily dug it out of his pocket and turned it on, but his hopes were immediately dashed when the screen showed he had no reception, so making any calls wasn't happening anytime soon. Soichi reluctantly shoved the cell phone back in his pocket in defeat. This whole thing is completely screwed up. What's going on? Seriously. He kept clicking his tongue as he stood back up. He straightened his arching back and went to loosen his school uniform's stiff necktie, which felt tighter than usual. Clink! His fingernails made contact with something hard. What's this? Soichi grasped at his neck. There was a metallic ring wrapped around it. Is this a collar? What's this thing doing here? He tried taking it off, but the thing wouldn't budge an inch. It was so tight that it felt like it was actually glued to his neck. He couldn't even get a finger underneath the collar's lining. It must have been put on him when he was still out. Since he obviously couldn't see it, he could only visualize the exterior by feeling around it. He deduced that it was a tube-like structure with a smooth surface that was slightly less than 2 centimeters thick in diameter. It seemed that it had been made specifically to fit around a person's neck. One thing that was certain was that it was definitely made of some sort of metal. Judging from the resistance that he felt when he tried to pull it off, how hard it was, and the lack of any gaps, the collar wasn't coming off anytime soon. Guess this thing's staying put for a while. Soichi took his hand off the collar and continued examining the room. Instead of wasting time on something fruitless, he figured he'd focus on trying to understand his plight instead. So he mulled over the room until he was satisfied, and he'd taken in everything it had to offer. He hadn't really noticed it earlier, but judging from the shining lamp above him, there was running electricity here. This wasn't a completely abandoned building. The bed drew his attention right away. The first thought, whoever did this could have at least put me there instead of the floor, but then he noticed the mattress was full of holes with springs protruding through them. Next to the bed was a table with something thin and square on it. An object was completely white, but it stood out like a sore thumb in this dull gray room. What's this? Soichi walked over to the table and picked it up. The square object appeared to be some kind of portable electric device. It had a 15 by 10 centimeter LCD screen that was surrounded by a metallic white frame. There was a switch of some sort located on the lower section of the device. The underside and the sides of the device were adorned with various ports, but overall the device was fairly simplistic. Soichi glanced at the device's dim LCD display and made out a faint image, the ace of spades. After a quick look over, Soichi casually pressed the switch. When he did, the backlight turned on and the switch changed. Rules, functions, release conditions. Those 3 tabs appeared at the top of the screens. The screen was easy on the eyes thanks to the device's backlight. Rules? What's up with that? Now that I think about it, this thing looks like some off-brand handheld gaming console. Soichi continued to stare at it. It's a switch. After thinking for a while, Soichi touched the screen with his finger. He'd remembered portable game device his friend had shown him a while back. It was operated via a touchscreen interface. Beep. A light electronic chirp echoed, and the rules icon he had touched changed color. The screen immediately shifted to something else, unleashing a wall of text. So it really is a touchscreen device. A sound from outside disturbed the room's silence. It was so subtle that Soichi probably wouldn't have noticed it if he hadn't been as tense as he was. He thrust the portable game console into his shirt pocket and carefully walked towards the source of the sound, the door right in front of him. Someone was there. Now that he thought about it, he hadn't gotten to this place by himself, so logically someone else had to be here. He hadn't thought of that before because everything seemed so surreal. He wouldn't have been brought here for no reason after all. He cautiously tiptoed toward the door as slowly as he could. After all, the one who'd brought him here could be lurking right behind it. This confirmed it. Someone was definitely there, and most likely right on the other side of the door. He was so close that he could almost feel their presence, even on this side. Soichi grasped the doorknob. At that moment, he heard a sound. Well, has that person realized I'm here? Despite that fear, Soichi swung open the door with all his might. The instant Soichi saw what lay on the other side, he thought he understood everything about his current situation. Because the one standing there was someone who couldn't possibly be here. This is a dream. I'm still dreaming. When this realization hit him, his anxiety gradually faded and he regained his cool. It was the same dream as always. Just then he felt his chest tighten as his familiar sight hit him. The girl's eyes widened in surprise. No, not surprise. Is it fear? Having regained his composure, Soichi examined the girl's face and came to this conclusion. Hey! Soichi reached out to her the same way he always did. When he did, the girl's body jolted and she took an awkward step back. As Soichi glanced at his hands, that was now left hanging in midair, he opened and closed it a few times. Something's wrong. This isn't like her. He began to realize that something was off. This dream was not like the others.
あなたが私をここに連れてきたんですか?
The one, when the frightened girl said this, Soichi realized that it wasn't a dream. It was cold, hard reality. Also, this girl wasn't the person he knew, but rather someone else altogether. The girl had been surprised when the door in front of her suddenly opened, and she'd been even more stunned to see a boy around her age on the other side of it. Is he the kidnapper? As soon as this thought crossed her mind, her whole body began to cower, and it couldn't stop trembling. Hey! So when the boy reached his hand out to her, she instinctively took a step back. Thank God, I can still move at least. The girl hugged herself to quell her trembling, as if she was trying to keep herself together.
あなたが私をここに連れてきたんですか?
She managed to squeeze the question out, steeling herself in the process. He's the criminal, he's the kidnapper. Her mind was consumed with fear. Her assumptions were only natural. She had seen no one else in this desolate place. He had to be the person who brought her here. No, you've got it all wrong. But he immediately protested by waving his hands in front of his face. I never did anything like that. What about you? Aren't you the culprit? Aren't you one of the culprit's accomplices? The instant she heard those words, the strength drained from her legs. He's not the culprit. She couldn't be sure that he was telling the truth, but it was too comforting not to believe. So the girl's knees buckled on the spot. Well, if you guys want to see more of this game, you know what to do. And now we're on to the next game for this chilling, sinfully fun games. Hey guys, our final one for today is an RPG Maker game. This is called Horror Book 2. I'm not sure if I was sent Horror Book 1, I didn't pay much attention. So let's do this. I didn't see many people here today. It should have been crowded on the weekends. Maybe not on every weekend. It's not the subway at rush hour. I don't think so. Maybe it's because of the ghosts. They say this place is haunted. I don't believe that. It's just an urban legend, you know. And there are someone here, right? Don't be afraid. Yeah, I'm more worried about weirdos. Climbers are good people. My grandma always says so. Is it? Hey, look at the lake. How beautiful. I want to jump into the lake and swim. How about playing hide and seek here? We have a bunch of time. Good idea. We used to play that. Guys, hide. I'll find you. I shall swim first and give you 10 minutes. This would be great. Okay, take care. Just shout loudly if you meet any trouble. I'm okay. Let's begin. Megumi, it's so late. Is everything okay? I should send her a message. Failed? Why? The signal is bad here? Fine, I'll find her. This control's a little weird. I've noticed this kind of thing with Japanese games, where you use the left click a lot. You shout loudly. You feel someone is staring at you. You don't need to hide right now. You shout loudly. You feel someone staring at you. You need to hide right now. You don't need to do this now. Okay. Oh, it's one of these games. Okay. Alright. Excuse me. I guess your friend is looking for you. A girl, black hair? Oh, that must be Haruka. Where did she go? I'm not really sure. Maybe the cave or the lake? I see, thank you. No big deal. The otaku-looking man went to the old cabin. Oh, well, he seems friendly. Shout loudly, you feel someone leering at you. Let's see now. You heard something from the direction of the cave. You had a small talk with Keiko. Okay. There's a game this reminds me of. Was it Splatterhouse? Yeah, it might be Splatterhouse. Not Splatterhouse. There's like a... there's an adult version of it, and I can't remember the name of it. Splatter School, I think. That's what this reminds me of. Now the music at least is kicked in. Small talk with you, okay. So I'm gonna guess yelling a lot is a bad idea. I don't know if there's a run button. No, it doesn't look like it. Kinda feels better to just kind of click with my left finger. Let's see, so... Do you do anything? Still missing. Still missing. Slipped. Shut the hell... What the hell? Shouted. Oh, someone's dead? Okay. So you have a timer to find everyone, it looks like. Danger. Bad feeling. I do need to do this right now. You just told me I did. Bye. I'm gonna go this way. Okay, so yeah, it is like Splatter School. Okay, well, it's similar. That's interesting. So yeah, I'm not sure if I said this at the beginning, but there's a game from this review that's been removed from the YouTube version. It can't be true. A murder? That looks... must call the police. But my mobile doesn't work. I can find Megumi and Haruka either. Just try to call the police first. That doesn't look like a murder, but okay. It's too dark to go inside. You need a light tool. I'm not going to try shouting, because that seems like a bad idea. It took some time to search the whole place. Nothing is in here. So you have a timer, I guess, to find everybody. Still missing. So another one's dead. Searched everywhere, nothing is here. You found Magatama. No idea what a Magatama does. We do know the guy is here, so we have to be careful. Already dead. Does he fuck them to death? Is that what's going on? There's a whole set of these type of games, isn't there? People are gonna send me. Very picky on how I want you to move. Found a lighter. Sweet. I'm going back to the cave. Event. Still missing. Next. Next. So we have to be careful now. Shioru slipped. Was it that ghost? Evil is nowhere. Event end. Oh. I feel like I need to hide from that, but okay. Okay. Can I search it? No. Alright, that hurts me. That's what I was very curious about. Was if it actually hurts you. Nothing here. Magatama has begun to shine in the moonlight. Yay? I don't know what a Magatama is. Key breaks the electromagnetic disturbance. Alrighty. So it's a very slow game. Because I can't seem to figure out how to run. Just to avoid them. That's good. When you have a giant no just appear in front of you. So we have angry ghosts. Event. Still missing. Looking around. There was nothing. Bad luck. Next. Shouted. Come on, come to me, ghosts. Next. Someone is looking at you in the darkness. Event end. Interesting way to do a game. Very interesting. I feel like these must be really popular. Let's go this way. Well, he's okay. You had a fight. Okay, that's good. You found a path behind the factory. I could get from this place. I can get out from this place. But there's a door that's locked. I need a pair of pliers. I think tool is needed as well. It's easy to die if you slipped. You could use some rope to make me save. Okay, so we need to find rope and pliers and stuff. Let's look in here and see if we can find anything now that we kind of know what we're looking for. Searched everywhere, nothing here. Still missing. Still missing. You're literally right over there. Like, I know where you are, so I'm not worried. You're just slipping in place at this point. Nothing here. I'm actually kind of getting into this game because I'm kind of enjoying, like, trying to figure out exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Can I open up a map or anything? Shouldn't he just come with me? You don't want to come with me? Fine. I don't... Nope. Can't go that way. So I have to avoid the ghosts. Okay. That doesn't seem too bad. So I'm curious what the first game is about. I forgot you were here. Found a pair of pliers. Event. Still missing. Still missing. Slipped. Had a good time. Okay. Hi, bye. Ooh. So we have to avoid that ghost at all costs, which he really seems to want to come at me. Here we go, lake. We haven't actually explored over here yet. Come on. There we go. Bad ghosty, bad. Band-Aid! Sweet. In case somebody gets hurt. Which, that one guy keeps falling, so... There we go. Can I go in here? Thank you. Is anybody here? Hello? Thank God, there's a phone. Why does this randomly pop up? Had a good time. Good. Good for him. Slipped. Band-Aid. It's 101. Hello? I think someone was killed. There's no response. I could hear something. No one leaves. What's that? That's weird. Kill, kill. This place is weird. I need to go. That just dawned on you. Ooh, I found a crystal. No, I want to see what that does. So picky. You need this to fight evil. So we're doing good. Our friend seems to be gone, though. I wonder if the rolls actually mean anything. Okay, found some rope. So we have everything we need to actually escape now. But I don't know... It's there. It's been waiting for me to go into the darkness. I'll be killed if I don't get ready. Fire would drive away the darkness. And I need something powerful to fight. Okay, nope. I'm going back the way I came. So I do have all this stuff to get out in that one area. So let's try to do that. You survived the night and saw the sunrise. But the others weren't as lucky as you are. There were just a few bodies found by the police. Your friends were killed too. You're the only one left. The case stays unsolved. Few people know what happened that night. Oh. I survived. Doesn't matter. So yeah, interesting little game if you want to try it. It's called Horror Book 2. And with that, we'll end the Sinfully Fun games for tonight. Unfortunately, one of them could not be put onto YouTube. But you guys can go in a few weeks to certain other sites and see it. And I'll see you guys next time. Don't forget to check out the Patreon, subscribe star, and all that fun jazz in the description. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.